Okay, next up is Cedar Rapids, and this is a really quirky comedy that crossbreeds two common cinematic staples, the mismatched buddy movie and the fish out of water scenario, with elements culled from, the mainstream smash The Hangover and the indie cult favorite Napoleon Dynamite. Cedar Rapids is a very versatile film, and although perhaps it's not as funny as one might expect given the setup, it successfully grows the main characters beyond their stereotypical roots, if you will, as is the case with an effective comedy. This one works because the protagonist becomes more than a walking punchline. And he is, of course, Tim, played by Ed Helms, famous for, of course, The Hangover, and as well as his role in The Office. He represents a familiar type, a socially awkward person who really just exuberates, uptightness, and easily just falls in love with any woman willing to sleep with him, even if she was once his junior high school teacher. The differences between Tim's Hollywood typical cinematic, Tim and Hollywood's typical cinematic geek, if you will, are apparent. Tim is not a teenager living in his parents' basement, and he does not appear to have any interest in science fiction or comic books. It goes to show that there's just more than one kind of nerd in the world. Now, Tim is an insurance salesman from Wisconsin, and unlike most of his peers, his motives are pure. He's a really good guy. He's too good for a profession that is just populated by a lot of vultures. And his boss is an oily sleazebag named Bill Krogstad. And he's played very well by Stephen Root, who a lot of you might remember as the boss from News Radio, and most of you will know from the movie Office Space, where he plays the mumbling Milton. Now, he sends Tim to a convention in Cedar Rapids to capture a prestigious award for the company. For Tim, who has led an isolated life, Cedar Rapids is like Las Vegas for him, and in the convention his life changes. And he meets a lot of interesting people. A straight shooter named Ronald Wilkes, played by Isaiah Whitlock Jr., and a foul-mouthed cynic, Dane Ziegler, played by John C. Reilly, as well as he develops romantic feelings for two women, Joan, played by Anne Hesh, and Bree, played by Aaliyah Shawkat. Now, and again, this is where a lot of the characters come into play. Much like I actually like in this film of The 40-Year-Old Virgin, where a lot of the characters really lend something to the movie, and none of them are just in the background. Whether it's just one simple laugh that a character lends, or being a substantial element to the helping out the lead character, that's what plays in this movie. Now, the humor in Cedar Rapids is, at times can be hit or miss, but there are more hits than misses. And there are instances where the filmmakers really appear to try to capture the Hangover vibe with some of the outrageous jokes, but again are trying to have the touch that some of the underlying messages the Judd Apatow films have. And again, you gotta love how the bonding between a lot of Tim and these characters really flows along. It's like he's being thrown into a whole new world, and it's making him all the more better without losing himself in the process. And you remember that that's what happened to Steve Carell in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. His friends were trying to help him but he was still not losing who he truly was. And again, I really love the interaction between Tim and Dean, Reilly and Helms. Really good together. Reilly could just about go with any comedic actor. I think he's proven that several times in the past. He's just such a fantastic comedic talent. And I gotta say, this is really a step from from the normalcy that we're used to seeing in comedies, and this is kind of more towards the works of Apatow and whatnot. But this is, I gotta say, director Miguel Arteta has really taken a step back from his work in Youth and Revolt, and more toward The Good Girl, even though the tone is closer to the former, as in Youth and Revolt, in terms of its humor. But in terms of the accomplishment that they're trying to get with this character, it's more towards what they did with Jennifer Aniston in The Good Girl. Now, this is something. Now, this is a movie that is not in widespread theater, which is a shame, because I think Ed Helms does have a bit of mainstream appeal, and so does John C. Reilly. I think it could have done moderately well in the box office. I hope they gave it a chance. But either way, this is a wonderful comedy. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5.